Let's go. Welcome to the main event. Applying pressure, but I promise I ain't make it then. In their heads, living free, I ain't paying rent. Wake up in the AM, making G's like Mercedes-Benz. Whoa, yeah, please don't take offense.
Welcome, everyone. Welcome back to Season 1, Episode 6, to Cock Riser, the show. I'm Jamie Jones.
And I am Monique Jones.
Very good. That's very good. You remember that after 6 shows. That's very good. It's good to go. All right. If you don't know and you do know, we'll say it again. We come together every week and we talk about things that have happened over the last week to us, outside of us, all around things. Whatever comes up, we don't know what each other's going to bring up because we've been living with each other all week. So we probably have experienced it or talked about it or thought it was interesting, but then we bring it up. And this is a spontaneous conversation. So, ladies first, Monique,
Hey,
what's on your mind?
you know what? I want to talk about college football.
Why?
And
You don't like to watch college? You don't like to watch college
that's
football?
not true. That's not true. I listen, I've always had a love for football with my son growing up and playing, and didn't miss a practice, didn't miss a game. It was very enjoyable until it got too cold, and then it wasn't so much. I think for me, I wanted to talk to you about why is it that men are like nothing else matters when it comes to football? Is it because, and I'll let you answer this question. Is it because it's a dream that when you're a young boy, that this is something that, every young boy just dreams about being an athlete? Like they say that a young lady dreams of her big wedding day. Why is it that football is so important to men? Like that, it's just like, okay, everything shuts down as football is on.
I
Why
think
is that?
there's many different reasons. I think one is the aspiration that you look up to people who can't do things who do things that you can't do that are remarkable. It's a little something has to do with they get paid a lot of money as other sports as well, then even though not the highest paid. Two, I think it's the closest thing that you can get to gladiators. It's the closest thing. Well, there's also MMA, but as far as just being able to physically abuse and cause battery and commit felonies every every minute on the field and not go to jail for it, and just to get out. There's an outlet of violence that people need to get out, and that's not a bad thing. It's a healthy way to get it out. And the competition is there. And look, depending on what socioeconomic background you're from, I mean, sports or ways to get out of maybe an impoverished or difficult situation for not only the athlete but the family, and that's aspiring and inspiring. But look, it is. I mean, just like we were watching this past week the Dallas Cowboys documentary, which was riveting, but at the same time, if you lived it, you kind of knew all the stuff, but it was still riveting because it's a soap opera. It's a reality TV show, although it's because the documentary, of course, it's past. But NFL football is a soap opera. It is the most reality of reality shows. And sports, all sports are the reality of reality shows that you can possibly have. And that's the attraction, because no matter what live game it is, you have no idea what's going to happen. You think you do. That's what we got bookies in Vegas for. And that's why we lose a lot of money, because you don't know what's going to happen with all the variables and parameters that are involved. It is the epitome of a reality show and a soap opera and a story. And I think the best thing about it is it's a story. There's a beginning, there's a middle, and there's an end that can be understood. And I think that's the way it is with NFL is not the biggest sport in the world. I mean, soccer is, but soccer is fragmented into different being the biggest sport in the world. I think the biggest single professional league in the world probably is the NFL. I may be wrong, but I think all the soccer leagues are like split up into different leagues. But I think the single league that attracts the most attention is the NFL, and that's why they're trying to go global. And yes, it has a lot to do with money, but I think that's it. it's the celebrityism too that's there. It's the attention that's paid for it. It's the admiration that you get from others when you're doing something that they can't necessarily do with for a reason or not. I don't want to say talented enough, but they didn't have the skill set to be able to do it. So there's a lot of things, but and then you can go back to the sentimental side. That's what you remember these things. Fandom, this fanatics that you have is because you grew up there. It represents you. Usually teams are mirror images of their community. The Pittsburgh Steelers, you think about as being, Steel City and salt of the earth and, coal miners and blue collar. And then you got LA, and LA's look glitz, and it's the Rams, and it's the Lakers. But then you got the Yankees with the pinstripes all buttoned up, with the suits, and the Metropolitans, and the Giants. I'm not even gonna mention the Jets because they suck too much. But even the Jets, because the Jets and the Metropolitan, your jet setting and all that stuff. So it takes on, and I'm from Washington, D.C., so unfortunately we had a logo and a name that did not represent us well for a whole hell of a lot of years. And gladly that was changed, regardless of how you feel about the name that it was changed to. At least it's a respectful name now, even though we didn't know any better back in the day. But we should have. So that's what it is. It's those connections that it builds. And I think that's there in different sports, but at the fanaticism or fanatical way that the NFL is, it's a plethora of things.
So
But you went from college to pro,
hold on, but
right?
no, I didn't say pro. I said to you that you said, oh, you don't even enjoy watching football. And I think
I
that
said
is
college football. I didn't say football. I said college football.
I think it's such an unfair statement because in all reality, I truly enjoy watching the growth of these athletes. And when it comes um to draft day and to literally sit there and because I hear you talk about the players and I hear you just emphasize on the talent that they have. So when I'm hearing you talk about an athlete and I hear about like, oh, okay, this kid is great. Who I can't remember. Damn, this is a crazy. I can't remember the young man's name. About 2 years ago, there was a white boy, I think, from Clemson, and and was it Clemson that he was at? I can't even remember. And it's probably been more than 2 years ago, but I enjoy watching them be drafted and watch their dreams come true. And the only reason why I would watch these young men is because you're watching them. My
No, the
thing
only
was
reason you're watching them is because it's on TV. And somebody said, you know what? We could squeeze some more blood out of this rock. And you know what? The draft is the ultimate game show. Nobody knows where they're going to go. You're making people millions. You're making families millionaires instantly on that first or second day. So it's like you're watching the Powerball and you're watching people actually win the Powerball because you don't really even know the people who win the Powerball unless you buy a ticket halfway between here and Montana on the side of a road with a carcass on the side of it at one of those stop shops. Maybe if you buy them there, you'll win the Powerball. But you're never going to see 32 people win the Powerball all in one evening, which is basically what you're looking at. So again, it's that drama that's in the TV that's not scripted to a certain extent. I mean, it's scripted to how they choose, but nobody knows who they're going to pick. Just like we didn't think Shador was going to fall to the 5th round. And in many cases, there are people get picked in the 1st round who should have never been picked, but they're picked for a reason. And that's the drama of it. At the end of the day.
so bringing up Shador and his last game, his last performance. Um, if I'm not mistaken, he had what, 7 sacks? I really can't remember verbatim the numbers. But what is your outlook on his future
Well, look, he
and
made the team. He made the team as a 5th round pick. I think that, I think everybody saw coming that they were going to keep the low cost rookies, and if Pickens would have worked out, which he didn't, they traded him. So everybody knew they want to get, there's assets there to trade. They're all going to get a chance to play because in the NFL, if you play quarterback, you rarely will make it through 16 games. Flacco is serviceable, but he's old. And he still got to beat out Dylan Gabriel. And Dylan Gabriel actually had a better college career than Shador did, to a certain extent. So I think it's great anytime a young man gets an opportunity, but then one man gets an opportunity, another man doesn't because somebody gets cut or traded or whatever. But no, I think it's funny. I think it's a non-story. If his last name would have been Jones, we would have been like, oh, this cat made it. And if he wasn't been associated, now he had a great college career, and it was a great college story.
Yeah.
But I think
Yeah.
what people need to understand, there are many great college stories. Was he done wrong? I don't know if he was done wrong. I think he was undervalued, but I think that's because some of the things that came with him. Should that matter? People say no, it should just be on athletic skill. But let's be honest, it's entertainment, so all that matters. That's like saying, well, he raped 3 women and ran over 5 people yesterday. That shouldn't matter. He's a great football player. Let's let him play. We all know back in the day, 60 years ago, you could do that. I love Jim Brown, but Jim Brown slapped a few women around and wouldn't have went down like that. He would have been like Ray Rice today. All right, so that wouldn't have happened. So
I don't know who Jim.
That's the difference. Well, Jim Brown. Well, that's all right. You don't know who Jim Brown is. Jim Brown is probably the greatest football player to ever play the game, even better than Tom Brady positionally, I believe.
Okay.
Tom Brady gets a lot of credit because he's won the championships quarterback, but Jim Brown, just ask somebody. Jim Brown is Jim Brown. So it's either 2 people you're going to mention as the best player ever. Is it going to be either Jim Brown or is it going to be Tom Brady?
Right, but you just said that Jim Brown smacked a couple women around. Is that
Yeah,
the
he
gentleman
did.
off the balcony?
Off the balcony? Huh? He also held a lady. He also held the lady over the balcony accordingly. But as we know, for some reason, celebrities like to do that when they try to intimidate. I don't get that. Like, if you're going to drop him. I'm not saying drop him, but
you told me that.
you're going to hold him over the balcony? That's they saw too many Scarface. And they were like, yo, let's try to hold some. They either saw Scarface or they were looking at Death Row going, you know what? Why don't we hold him over the balcony? Maybe that'll change their mind.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know.
It's just, I think about, again, the conversation yesterday we had, it was about, we were watching a television show and of how the girl's biggest dream is to have her wedding dress, get married, and have her happy ever after. I never had that. I never thought of those things. It wasn't like something I'm like, I wanted to wear a white wedding dress. It just, that wasn't a dream of mine. So I think for me, I was just trying to kind of use it on the same scale as an athlete, and that's why I was asking the question. So from your perspective on things, I know that you said it's just because it's like a gladiator, it's those, things about watching somebody to accomplish something that maybe you weren't able to accomplish or a lot of men weren't able to accomplish. But what does that feel like? Like you're watching these young men accomplish something that you were maybe wanted to accomplish and weren't able to, or maybe I don't even want to say you weren't able to, but because those times were so different then than they are now, right? What does that feel like for you? What does what
It's different. It's different if you played the game and got to a certain level. You know my group of friends. We have many in a group of friends that either played college, had a cup of coffee in the pros, had a tryout, or even gotten to the pros. Or we played with many people who are in the pros.
Mm-hmm.
So you appreciate it when you played the game, you appreciate it because you know what goes into it, even if you might not have made it to that level. If you were good enough to get to college and play college football, you were pretty daggone good in high school.
Mm-hmm.
And if you were good enough to get on the field in college, then you were pretty good. And then it's the next level. I could tell you that from my tryout long decades ago, that it's just a different athlete. Then it's like the person who makes it in the pros is as good as the best person on the team that you played. And everybody is as good as the best person that was on the team that you played on in college. Everybody.
Mm-hmm.
So
Yeah.
on that pro team is as good as, so if you weren't one of the best people on that college team, you walk into a situation and go, oh, this is what this looks like. So
Mm-hmm.
so I think as a former athlete, you appreciate what they're doing. What does it feel like? I mean, still, I mean, if you still look like you're athletic and you're older, people still will ask you, especially if you're black, hey, did you play football? Did you like, or like our son, right? Lance, he'll be asked that his whole life because he's 6'9" or 6'10", whatever you want, depending on which stick you use to measure him. He's always going to be asked that. Now, to me, that's worse. To me, the funny thing is I laugh. I pray for Lance and that he does well where he is right now, over in Europe. He makes it to the NBA, but at least he's going to be playing pro basketball. So at least he doesn't have to walk around and somebody goes, hey, did you play basketball? And you go, yeah, I never did. But and I don't even know how that feels. If you're like tall, I'm 6'1", 6'2". But imagine if you're 6'5", probably every single day of your life, somebody is asking you, hey, do you play or did you play basketball? And if you didn't, and you didn't have some kind of success, I know you're like, stop fucking asking me that question
Yeah.
every day.
Because people think that because you are tall, that you're automatically should have been some type of athlete.
Well, it's more
And
than that. It's more than that, though. It depends on who. Look, if you're black
okay.
or a person of color, and you're in an arena where people aren't, they ask you that question. They don't ask you if you're an attorney. They don't ask you if you're an accountant. They don't ask you if you're an engineer. They look at you physically and they say, well, the only reason you must be here or had a chance to get here, and I'm sure that's changed over the years. I'm talking about my experience growing up, and even to a certain extent, you will be asked that question because you're trying to find out how can you be here? Because there ain't a lot of people look like you here. So I don't see a lot of people that look like you where I'm working. So how are you here? Because you can't do what I do. You can't be a doctor.
Yeah.
You can't be a lawyer. You can't be a professional. But you get that a lot when you're a person of color and you look like you're athletic in a in different situations. That's not always the case, but it happens a lot. But going back to what you're saying, I don't know if I could deal. I don't know if I could deal with that if I didn't have a chance to play, because you get tired of hearing it.
Well, and that kind of brings me into my next question.
Yeah. But before you get to your next question, I was going to tell you that you made a remarkable segue, unless you were looking at my notes of what I was going to talk about, because I was going to talk about Love is Blind. And you just mentioned the show when you were talking about, yeah, you mentioned something about married or what did you just mention before?
The fairy tale wedding.
The fairy tale, and the wedding, and not wanting the wedding. And I was going to say that's a good segue because that's our show is Love is Blind. Well, we can dig into that a little bit later. I just wanted to say that was a good segue because if y'all ain't watching Love is Blind, you're missing it. You're missing it. You
know what?
If you don't know what Love is Blind is, it's people get into these pods. They ain't never seen each other, and they can you fall in love without seeing somebody? Can you fall in love when you just meet somebody with the wall?
Karen and Megan, I just want to tell you that your love.
This is Love Island, UK. You gotta tell people this is Love Island, UK.
Love Island, UK. This is Love is Blind.
My bad. See, Love is Blind.
Megan.
Love Island. Right. Love is Blind. Love is Blind, UK. Love is Blind. You're right. Love is Blind, UK.
Can I just tell you, love them. Like when I tell you their love is like, it's so natural. It's so, it's just, I look at their life, just how they are together. And then there was Sophie that kind of tried to, sneak in a little bit when she saw him after the fact, and he's like, yeah, I'm good.
I like them.
I love them.
I'll wait to the reunion. I like Sarova, and I forgot the dude's
his
Sarova
name.
And wow, I forget the name. Her name is so unique. I like them.
Oh my God, what is his name?
I know, what is his name?
Those two couples, though, are just so ideal for me.
I don't know if they're gonna make it. I don't know if they're gonna make it. Sarver and her guy, I don't know if they're gonna make it.
It
But
has.
I'll wait. I'll wait and see. Love is Blind is.
I
I
just.
mean, all these shows. Look, all these shows are like eating Chinese food. An hour later, you're like, you're not full. It's just like
You know
six
what?
weeks. 6 weeks later, none of them together. Whether they got
You know.
married, whether married at first sight, Love is Blind, Hunt for Love, Love Island.
Hope
I'm
for
telling
love.
on myself.
I
I'm
crack
telling on
every time.
myself. We
Love
watch all these shows. Now, I'm going to
you
be
know
honest. If I was sitting there by
that.
myself and I wasn't married, I probably would never even be interested in these shows. But I am, so it's
You know.
guilty pleasure.
It's so amazing to me, and it's almost sad and embarrassing to say that sometimes I feel things watching these shows about what my needs and wants are, and just really saying to myself, "Well, like, damn, like I never thought it from that perspective," and just really understanding on and again about being just you think you're this amazing partner, right? And then you watch these other people and you're just like, maybe I'm not that great. I don't know. But it's just one of those things on the connection that these individuals have and how they're able
Well,
to hold on.
until they get out.
I, babe, you didn't let me finish.
Until they get out.
As you know, again, I wasn't going to talk about this on this segment of our podcast, but there is 6 stages of love. And the first stage is fireworks. It's just this excitement, this thing that everybody is like this perfect human being for you. And it's just where you just don't realize that we all want to be perfect for the person that we're first dating, right? So we always it's not even a facade
All
or
right,
a
so
mask.
what's number 2? Get through the 6. We only got an hour podcast here. Get through the
And
6.
I'm not going to get through any of them. I'm just saying to you that they're at the stage of the
You
first,
said there was 6 stages of love.
their
What are the
stage.
6 stages of love? You can't
I,
keep
I,
the audience hanging. What are the
uh,
6 stages of love?
I'm not in my notes, so I'm like, I need this. Yeah,
What
I wrote.
are Okay, Monique owes us 2, 3,
Yeah.
4, and 5. Add 6.
Okay.
2, 3, 4, 5, and
Every
6. You
teen-
can't say there are 6 stages of love and only talk
There
about the
is
first one.
stages of love, and one it's just like, hold on a second. Go ahead. I'll let you talk about something
Hey,
so
no,
I
go,
find
go
this.
ahead. Go ahead. I want to
Yep.
know what the 6 stages of love are.
Let me see. Oh
I
God.
want to know what the 6 stages of love are. What are they?
This is horrible because I don't even have it. Okay. Phase 1 is the dream phase. You imagine the perfect life with no flaws, the
All right,
butterfly.
2. 2.
Okay. Number 2 is the discovery phase.
All right, discovery. All
You see
right.
their flaws, their quirks, and their wound.
All right, 3.
Is the disappointment stage.
Oh, here we go. We're getting to real love now.
Yeah, no, it's the
All right.
expectations have put out there for one another, and it starts to wonder, did I marry the right person?
Yep. That happens pretty quick on
Yeah.
Love is Blind. That doesn't go too far. It doesn't go too far on the
But
other shows either. So
the thing
what's
is
number 4? Wait a minute. What's number 4?
number number 4 is the rebuilding stage. You stop trying to change each other and you start to learn each other, understanding the boundaries and the love that
That's
become.
a ways. I can tell you that's a ways in. I mean, that's probably like 4 or 5 years in before you get to that. All right, what's phase number 5 before we start talking about
Phase
phase
5 is the deep love phase where you see each
deep?
other
I got to get to
first.
phase 5 before I'm considered to be deep. Wow,
I
wow,
mean, you know what? You
wow.
know what? And this back to a conversation. When you are at your most vulnerable stage of your life, that's when I need to be loved. I need to be loved at all my
All right, well, let's hold that thought. Let's get the last one out. What's stage 6?
legacy stage. You become
Legacy.
and you realize that everybody is inspired by your relationship. Everybody is inspired by your love and your commitment to one
Well, you
another.
know what? That's got to be it. That can't be till 20 years. You ain't impressing me with marriage until you married for 20 years. That's just
Really?
me. 20 years.
20 year.
20
Okay.
years.
I mean,
Because
that's
it's easy to get to
that's
10. It's easy
is
to
it
get to 10.
easy?
You can
Yeah.
put up with people enough to get to 10. You get past 10, that's when you're starting to say, all right, well, maybe, not that I know, but all right, well, maybe I can stay with this person
Did you
for the rest of my life.
10?
You got to get to 10. I'm sorry. Anything below that's like going to college and then grad school, and then you get your doctorate, and then you're like, all right, what am I going to do? What am I going to do after this? Am I going to stay on this path? I would hope so, because I got 10 years in. Anything before that, it's like going to college for 4 years and being, you know what? I got a 4-year degree in communications. I don't want to do this. Let me go and do something else with my career. Maybe I get my master's. Oh, you know what? I still can do another career. I get 10 years into my schooling. I'm doing what I went to school for 10 years for. I'm not, maybe not 4, maybe not 6. Maybe I shouldn't look at that. Maybe that was my problem with the first 2 marriages that I had. But yeah, that's
I
interesting.
I
So
mean, I think
dream is the honeymoon.
I think that the comment that you just made was kind of it kind of just makes me say, "Hmm." Because I'm like, you've been in 2 marriages, you're in your 3rd marriage. I'm in my 2nd. My first marriage lasted 18, 19 years,
Yeah,
20
y'all
in all
would know how long were you married? Not
18
together.
years.
18 years.
18 years married, 21, 22 together. I think that it is important to say, I mean, when you're young, there's a lot of different things that happen. You're evolving, you're growing, and sometimes the other person is not growing with you. And there's different steps, and you're raising kids, and there's just like you're always distracted with work, your children, and sometimes you just kind of grow apart. But for I look at hold on, hear me out. I look at me and this marriage that I'm in now, and there's no real distractions. I think it's that, you know, yes, we live a daily life and we do the things that we do. And but as far as like, you know what? And I'm gonna bring this up. So our grandkids were here last week, and Jane loved to call Sebastian a cock blocker. And it was just like, it's so funny because I'm like, can you imagine being in a married couple and raising children and the intimacy? Yeah, the
Didn't I've
intimacy,
never done that, so I didn't. Yes, I saw a glimpse of it
the
for a
intimacy
week.
The intimacy, well, first of all, it's my grandson, so of course I'm gonna make sure that I'm sleeping in the bed with him because he is a spoiled baby, and I don't care, I love it. It's just like Jamie's gonna have to separate the 2 while he's here, and my granddaughter, but she doesn't have to sleep with me. But what I'm saying to you is that those things happen in real life, and people are separate parents are separated because either the baby is laying in between them, or the mom is in the bed, or the dad is in the bed, all those things. But it's about when you are able to connect and understand the emotions and the love that I feel like you and I share as a couple, to make sure that that moment is so important to
So you're
us.
telling me that the distractions that you can't do that if you have kids and distractions, or it's
It's
harder to do.
It's harder. It's harder because you always have somebody coming, knocking at the door, barging in the door. As you know, and I'll take this back to my twin sister. So she is, raising 2 of her grandchildren, and this isn't the time in her life that she should be raising grandchildren, but she is being an amazing woman, and I commend her, and I tell her all the time, I'm like, yo, I just don't know how you
Well, it's
do
not
it.
only her too; it's her husband.
Oh, you didn't let me finish.
I'm just giving the men a shout out. I just want to
And
make sure it's not just her; it's the men too.
hold on. But Jeff we to the hairdresser sitting there for hours while she gets her hair done. He's at football with Carter 4 times, 5 times a week. I mean, there's a lot of respect in those people that I just need them to know how much I admire and just say to myself, I just don't know if I could do it. And I know that if I was put in a situation that I would do it, because you're talking about my family, because that I'm that person. Like, I cry at night just because I can't hug my daughter or hug my sons, and both of them, all three of my children and my grandchildren. It's important to me that they know how much I love them, and me not being there and able to be that supportive person the way that my mother was. It's heartfelting for me, and it's just like it brings sadness to me. But then I also try to reiterate to them that just this is my life, and I should be commended for saying, you know what, I'm going to live my life because I have sacrificed my whole entire life for everyone to make sure that everybody was happy. And now it's my turn. And it's not saying that I still can't love you and support you and do whatever it is that I need to do for you. But I think that for my sister, she's and Jeff, they're put into a situation where um they are raising grandchildren, and I want to enjoy my grandchildren in increments, not full time.
Well, I think the interesting thing that brought up today, and then ironically, you're bringing up the 6 phases or 6 categories of love. Is like I'm thinking, and I'm matching them up to the shows, and and
The
how
show.
these 6 categories are truncated and squeezed almost like cold pressed. That love is cold pressed, especially in well, in different ways. And Love is Blind, you're going through it with different people, quote unquote, dating. You're trying to find that connection, and there's a wall in between. You can't see them. It's more of a test, I think, for men than it is for women, just because we're more
Women.
visual than women are. But then again, Married at First Sight, would you agree? Like you getting this and you letting somebody else pick somebody for you, and you don't even get to see the person, and you get married to the person right then, right there. All these things get truncated because, of course, there's a time composition, there's a time. What am I trying to say?
I don't know.
There's a time part to it where you have to say, all right, you got to get married or you got to stay married, and you got a choice. But these 6 things they're trying to do during this 8-week period in both of the shows, I believe.
So are you talking about Love is Blind or Love at First
I'm
Sight?
talking about Married at First. I'm talking about Married at First Sight and Love is Blind. Different ways they're doing it without seeing. One is like straight up, here I am. You get interviewed by a psychiatrist, and then they pick the person for you based on what you say you want. Love is Blind is you basically saying what you want. You're talking to the person that you two are making the decision without seeing each other. Married at First Sight is just what it says, Married at First Sight. But all these 6 categories, dream, basically honeymoon stage, discovery, and you can still put discovery in the honeymoon stage. Disappointment, you're not in the honeymoon stage.
No.
Deep, legacy, that happens in all those shows. The question is, how do people navigate through it? And I think the hardest one to do during a truncated period is discovery. Because discovery, to me, should happen organically. I think you're going to ask people questions, but you don't know every question possibly to ask.
Absolutely.
Depending on what somebody's thinking about, and certain things have to come out. Which is why therapists are great. If you want to go to therapy, if you need therapy, I think therapy is great simply because they're asking you questions that you're not either thinking about asking yourself. Somebody's not going to ask you, but they're going into crevices of your brain and your memory and your experiences that sometimes need to be drummed up by a professional that your partner's going to be able to drum up. But I think discovery, and then I think the hardest thing after that, I think they go in a row. I think it's 2, 3, and 4. I think it's discovery. Then you find out some shit you don't like or that's disappointing or that happens. Then you try to rebuild, but you don't really have enough time to rebuild because it happened last night. They were like, oh, we never get in an argument. And then people kept on saying, have you guys ever got in an argument? You're like, well, that's kind of like a double-edged sword, because if I say I haven't gotten any arguments, they go, oh, then you guys don't even know how to do the conflict management. If you say, well, you have gotten arguments and you work through it, they go, oh, well, you guys are arguing too early. So you can't win. They argued the
Absolutely.
last couple days, and then the woman decides that she's not going to marry this guy. This guy was just devastated because he's thinking, well, we'll talk it through. And she was like, nah, bruh. I don't, I don't know. I want to stay with you, but I don't know if I want to. I need to know more. And I know at the end of the day, we'll find out later because they're going to do the reunion. I guarantee you, he walks.
So, who is the guy that said he had to follow his spleen? I love
Oh,
him,
yeah, but obviously we watched the show. We can't remember the daggone characters, the,
but
the characters' names.
well,
But yeah,
it's
he's.
because
But you got to get a
there's so
background.
you. And don't get me wrong, I loved his energy. I loved how positive he was. And you know what? I want to say her name was Mel. I really don't remember, but I'm going to tell you, I feel like
No,
with
I thought
him,
it was Yolanda.
Yuna.
Yolanda.
I
No,
don't,
no. Yuna was the other woman. Yolanda was the singer, the one he talked to with all the
Yolanda.
hair.
Okay. All right.
I
You
I
have a
think,
better
and we'll figure it out later.
that the reason why he chose not to move forward is because he said to her, "Well, I want you to sing for me. I want you to like share with me who you are." And she was not able to do that. So his spleen, his gut said, "This person isn't for you." And it resonated with me about just a lot of things that has happened in my own life that you kind of second guess like, is this person right for me? And I'm not, and again, I'm not talking about just a marriage or I'm talking about friendships or people that you just have in your surrounding place. Like, is this person for me? Right? Like, you have friends that you meet and you're like, you kind of just, you know, maybe this person isn't my biggest fan. So if you're not my biggest fan, I don't want to be around you. I mean, that's like, and you know what? I say to myself, when you make me upset, right? Or you do something that just I get irritated on, I'm just like, at the end of the day, I lay in the bed at night and I say to myself, this is the person that I love. This is the person that I admire. This is the person that makes me a better person. And I want him to feel as safe as possible. And how do I do that? Right? These are the questions that I ask myself to make sure that my husband is feeling as safe as and secure as I want to feel. I want to feel um I want to feel like this is the person that I can tell anything to, that I'm not scared to share things with about my past because I feel like, okay, I'm going to tell him these things even if he's not asking these questions. I'm still going to share them with him to let him know that these are my hurts. This is what I've experienced and I want him to reciprocate the same things. So I think for those people with the gentleman on Love is Blind and him saying to himself like, yeah, this person doesn't want to share her talent with me. How is she going to share her stories with me?
Right. And by the way, if you're wondering what we are sipping on today, we are sipping on the 2017 Kiever Vineyards Estate Cabernet. Again, a 2017 out of Yountville, USA, right out there in Napa Valley. The only year that's rated higher than the 92 Kiever, rated higher with a 92 rating than the 2017 Kiever is the 2018 Kiever Cabernet Sauvignon. Very nice. After it opened up,
Yeah,
very
it's
nice wine.
very
Very
good.
nice. Old school cab out there in Napa for those of you who are into that. I would highly recommend checking out Kiever, either the 2017 or the 2018. If you can find the 2019 similar rate, it hasn't been rated yet, but the 2015, 2014, if you can find those, are around the same 92, 94 rating for those of you who consider yourselves to be posh on wines. That's what we're sipping here. So we talked about the NFL a little bit, but really the big story, and we talked about football, but really the big story in football, other than college football starting this week, pro football starting after Labor Day, was the big trade, and we talked about Jerry Jones because we talked about the Dallas Cowboys, and it's the fact that he traded the possibly the best defensive player in the league, probably the best defensive player in the last 5 years. He's done more things than Hall of Famers or in the same rarefied air in accomplishments and performances over the last 5 years. Like a Parson as anybody, right up there with Reggie White and all the other superlative rushers that are out there. And everybody's like, Jerry Jones, why'd you do that? And I can see both sides of it. I mean, Michael wanted to get paid. And everybody knows you can't negotiate a contract with a handshake. Jerry thought he did. But Jerry was, according to Jerry, being Jerry. And you know what? I've never been of the thought of with owners that they can, if I spent, I was like Jerry spent $150 million on the team. It's a $10 billion team right now, so I think he's winning. But if I paid that much money, or if I paid billions of dollars for a team, I'm going to do whatever the fuck I want to do within legal parameters. And you can tell me I don't know football. You can tell me I don't know basketball. I'm going to hire people to do that. But if I think I can help the team, I'm going to help the team because it's just like anything else. It's just like owning any other business or owning an asset or a car. It's like you want to have fun with it. That's why you purchased it. You're not going to own it forever because you're going to die one day. Maybe it goes to your family. Maybe you sell it or whatever. But I got to tell you, Jerry has done the thing about Jerry Jones. He's a great owner. He's a bad general manager. I think everybody can agree to that. But he's meant so much
Oh, so
to
much.
the financial proliferation and profitability of the league that
Yeah.
you excuse all that stuff. And he's lucky he won his Super Bowls early.
Yeah.
And what he's created, if anything, he is the Barnum Bailey circus that there is in modern time.
Yeah. And so if we could touch on that, I think that show um really, really made me I used to always hear about, Jerry Jones and Michael Irving. Oh,
Irvin. Irvin.
Irvin, okay, whatever. The thing is,
I'm just letting you know the man's name. The
yeah, no,
man's Urban, not Irving. Irvin.
Irvin. Yeah. So hearing his story and watching what he was exposed to as a young athlete and having sex and drinking and doing drugs and all those things because it was something that was at his fingertips, right? So it was like he was able to do those things and people judged him for it. But I remember the moment him walking, hold on, and the Dallas Cowboy, it was like it was accepted. But I remember he said to his teammates, "All I have to do is get a touchdown." And I think I'm quoting that. And they will take me back.
He said that to the prosecutors who were basically telling him, "We're gonna put you in jail for 20 years." And that's why he said, "All I gotta do is catch a touchdown. These people gonna love me. What are you gonna do? You're gonna go back to whatever you're doing, and nobody's even gonna care, right?"
Right.
And that's
Right.
why he wore the mink coat to let
Yes,
them know he was
yeah.
being a
And,
peacock. He was flexing,
and
and he funny. I forgot about
I
I
remember
forgot about all that, but the remarkable thing is he was so lucky with a couple different things. Because why he didn't get brought up on witness tampering, I don't know. But the fact that the guy got mad and its girlfriend was a stripper and he had a hit on
the
him,
police
that
officer. The police officer.
that
Yeah.
number one. Number two, nobody would
Yeah.
say anything. Snitches get stitches, and nobody was talking. We don't know why they weren't talking, but probably they were. I'm not. I can't. I'm. You could think of many different reasons why they would not talk, other than they didn't want to. So the judge was like, but I appreciate that judge because judges don't have to do that. Judges can
Jamie,
make some decisions that are wrong. You know that. I know
Jamie,
you know it very well. The fact that
and
he said, I didn't have anything to go off of.
I may be stepping over the boundaries right now. I truly may be stepping over the
It won't be
boundaries.
the first time.
You don't think that Michael, what's his last name?
Irvin.
Irvin, didn't get a different type of outcome because of Jerry Jones?
Well, I said,
What did you
remember,
say?
I said, we don't know why people didn't talk. There's probably many factors that went into it that would entice a person not to talk. And I'm not going to say it in public because someone's not going to come back and sue me. We can talk about it offline.
Okay.
But let's say in
Okay.
other like cases, if there's very powerful people, they can infiltrate certain areas, all areas of it, not just one area, but many
I
areas of it.
the why I say and again, there is tons of athletes and let so you have an athlete that becomes so successful that may have not had the better opportunities in life, but because they were so talented, they became an athlete and became this multi-million dollar person and their life has changed, right? But it didn't mean, and I'm gonna go to Aaron Hernandez. It was just like, okay, so you had Aaron Hernandez as an athlete that made so much money, but was sexually abused, was physically abused, and all of these things become anger, right? So you're angry at what has happened to you, so you want to retaliate and maybe act aggressively in a way that you are not taught to deal with your emotions or you're not taught to deal with your, how to handle it. And I'm going to use my son as an example, right? Have this son, my middle son, very, very talented, but very angry because his father was not in his life. And maybe my husband didn't give him the love that he intentionally meant to give him because he wasn't shown that emotions and that love. So they act out. So my son started to act out in a way that you're like, okay, yo, kid, you were not raised this way. Why are you acting this way? So, and I use Aaron Hernandez and I use other athletes as an example because I feel like if you are raised in an environment that is chaotic, it is toxic, it is abusive, it is all these things. Why do our children act this?
Well,
What we're showing.
wait. Well, let me look. All athletes, and I know you know this, but all
Yes. Oh,
athletes aren't. Well, wait. All athletes are not raised in a toxic,
I didn't say
violent.
that.
No, but
I didn't say
what I'm saying is, all athletes that do things aren't because that. There are many athletes that grow up with silver spoons in their mouth. And the other thing you have to understand is when you're a great athlete, and you've seen this with your son, when you're a great athlete and you go to a institution that honors great athletes and that produces a lot of pro athletes that become millionaires, you saw it on the AAU circuit. You're
yeah,
treated totally different than
absolutely.
a normal kid. You're
Yes.
treated, and people treat you different when they think that there's some value in an autograph or a value in a
Mhm.
picture or a value being associated. So it's not there is that. And of course, that's what happened to Aaron Hernandez. I mean, Michael Irvin had a poor upbringing, but he had a charmed experience at Miami. He had a charmed experience at Dallas. That's just you got all the King's men and you got all the King's horses. And
Our
guess
king's
what?
horses.
When you have
Mhm.
all that, the highest crust and the poshest of people will do things that you'll be like, well, why would you do that? Why? Because you got access to it. Nobody's looking at you and nobody's around to say no. So it's both things. It's that societal way we honor these athletes, as like I said before, kind of like gladiators. It's stereotypical, and there's a reason why it's stereotypical to say, oh, they acted out because there was something in their past. I think that that's partly true. I just don't want to paint that broad stroke because I think it's more. I think it's more. You have access to things that you never, and most people don't have access to, and there's nobody saying you can't do something, so you do it.
Right. But so if we take it back further into history, so, like Michael Irvin didn't have he didn't have, or maybe he did, but he didn't access his support system on maybe about the White House that
But you're
they
not going to access you're not going to access your support system because he had a wonderful mother, wonderful. I mean, his
yes.
family was tight knit. He just was impoverished and fought his way out.
Hmm.
That
Yeah,
wasn't their fault.
I
That
didn't.
was,
So
I mean, that's going into Caligula, and you're
right, but
going to Rome, and you and the
yeah,
Romans
what
are doing all this
it,
stuff. That's what
it's
that was
not
from.
saying. Oh, but it's not saying that it was his mother or his upbringing, but I feel like certain situations, you know, like I said to you, like, so I can speak from a mother's perspective on what a woman can do to damage her son, right? Or what a father can do to damage their daughter. And what I'm saying to you is that I think that certain athletes, and I'm not just speaking about just one or two, and I'm not talking about five or six. I'm talking about, I think that athletes, depending on the situation that they're in, if you come from absolutely poverty and then now you're this millionaire, right? The drastic change
I
is,
agree. I agree. That's what I just said
and,
before.
oh, so what I'm saying to you is that when you come from lower class to, high class, or you come from middle class to high class, what what really actually determines your class? Is it because
Well,
you
let's let's
have
let's let's
money?
let's let, let's even not call it
And
high class, low class, middle class. Let's call it whatever socioeconomic band of money that you're in. All right. So, um, just like any other stats, we know that um, if you make more money and you're higher and you have a certain amount of higher education, your health is better. Why? Because of those things give you access to information that can that would enable you to care about your health. But at the end of the day, their basic needs are satisfied to be able to take care. And there's been many studies about this. This is not the Jamie Jones thing. This is not, internet, content. This is fact. You can look it up in studies. If your basic needs are met, food, a roof over your head, right? Um, Cleanliness. I mean, if you can take care of yourself, then you start to take care of health. Health becomes unimportant if you can't go out there and work and make a living, put a roof over your head, put food on the table. And then it's what type of living that you're in and what type of food you can put on the table. Because the reason why we are so unhealthy as Americans is because we went for so many cheap choices of food, which were ultra processed food, that really started with government cheese.
yes.
That's where all this ultra processed food started, with government cheese, and then taking fat out of everything. And then what did they have to do with the curd? Well, they said, hey, farmers, here's another way to make some money. It's another revenue stream, make cheese. So it actually probably started when they started to do the non-fat things. And I'm not even going to go into it. You can see your documentaries online, but the sugar industry is the main culprit in causing all that, because they didn't want anybody limited in what they can do. And by the way, that's the way why you'll never see on a food package, if you look right now, you always see what's the daily percentage of protein, what's the daily percentage of sodium. You don't see what the daily percentage of sugar is. All you see is how many grams in it. There's a reason. They don't want you to know that, because if you look at a brain scan, your brain is the same on cocaine as it is on sugar. So
Right.
there's an addictive nature to sugar. Sugar industry been fooling us for years about it. And look, sugar in itself is not bad. Refined extra sugar is what's bad. And that ultra processed, the ultra processedness of that, if that's a word, of it is bad. But look, it is the fact that if you grow up in it, let's say as a high net worth individual or high net worth family, you're accustomed to certain things. But that doesn't mean they don't wild out too. So to me,
Absolutely.
it's the access of it and having a a environment of inclusion that brings different people of different walks of life into your circle. And those are the people that are going to keep you sane. Those are the people going to keep you level. Those are the people going to say, hey, you may want to think differently about this as you go through life. And what is your purpose? I don't, I think it happens just as much to people who the background they don't have the support
Yeah.
and love and I think it happens to just as much as the people who have, who are billionaire or hundreds of millionaires families, because their morals, their morals get sidetracked by different reasons, but the morals
Mm-hmm.
still get sidetracked. The morals still go outside the guardrails, but they're for different reasons, but the same results happen, right?
Gotcha.
And it's just like, I mean, there's a lot of stuff we didn't even get to. I mean, I wanted to talk about the whole Cincy thing a couple of weeks ago when the two white people got beat down by a group of black people in the middle of the street, for whatever reasons. It's wrong. They cold cocked a woman who had nothing to do with it. They said they were racial slurs. Whatever, the violence was wrong. And then there's what happened the other day. And where was it? At the school shooting? Was it in Minneapolis? Was it in Minnesota? Yeah, it was in Minneapolis, the school shooting.
Minneapolis.
And now unfortunately we're going to have one of those visuals that no different than the visual of the woman getting shot in the head or the man getting shot in the head in Vietnam, the person falling out of the building in 9/11. Now we got another visual of a woman holding her shoes in her hand and running barefoot down the middle of the street to try to get to her kid at the school, because of course there was a shooting. So these pictures, these images that sear us, sear our brains, are unfortunate, but it all goes back to, when you look at a mass murder, especially American mass murderers, unfortunately most of them have been white, have been Caucasian. And why is that? You would think that, well, hell, we always talk about as black people, we've been through the most pain. You would think that we would be at the top 20 of the list of mass murderers, but that's not the case. It's an interesting fact that they mostly are Caucasian men and what they're dealing. And that's something that needs to be talked about from them, because what they deal with as far as harm and as far as damage is no different than any other ethnicity or race, or call it what you want. So it's like that attention needs to be paid to them as well to heal them. And that's something I can't talk to, obviously, because my pigmentation is not close to that. But it'd be interesting. It's like, how do they get there? Because you think, from my point of view, the world is your oyster. You have no excuse not to succeed. What's going on here, right?
Yeah.
But it'd be interesting to hear that perspective from white males who either have experienced it, felt it, or felt themselves going that way at a time.
I think that's a great way to end this podcast.
On a down note,
well,
on a
yeah,
down note, you want to end the podcast on a sorrow note?
okay. Well, maybe we should have an up note. I don't know. What do you want to end this on? I mean, it's just like, people, we all bleed red.
You know what? I'm glad you said red. I would
Yeah.
more say garnet and gold. And I'll end this on a great note. The Washington Football Commanders will win the Super Bowl this year. Almost made it last year. We will win the Super Bowl this year. You heard from me. 2025, 2026, Super Bowl champions, the Washington Commanders. I'll drop the mic on that. Everybody, thanks for listening. Monique, as always, great talking to you. What should be, you're my wife. That helps. And we'll see you guys next week.
Holla. Listen to me now.